Hello, everyone, and welcome to our fourth Moody Talk on fear. If you haven't listened to the other Moody Talks, I highly recommend it. We're going to go through them a little bit more today. But the first week, we talked about the words that we use and the intensity that comes with those words. We talked about the way our bodies feel, and we talk about kitties getting into our path here. Hello. Yes, hi, I see you. You can now step back so I can do. Okay, interruptions aside. So this week we are going to talk about problem solving. And I know using the term problem solving probably seems a little generic, right? But in terms of DBT, it's more specific. And it's taking steps. Okay, taking steps into, figuring out what the best course of action is for you when you are feeling an emotion like fear. Okay, so let's get into it. Problem solving. Step 1. Figure out and describe the problem situation. So you're going to want to describe the situation without your emotion tied to it. That's what checking the facts is, what we talked about in our second Moody Talk. Checking the facts is when you go into a situation, taking the emotion that you're feeling and just looking at the facts of that situation. What happened? Describe what happened in each step so that you have a better understanding of the situation outside of your emotion. Okay? 2, check the facts. All the facts to be sure you have the right problem situation, right? So again, we're wanting to understand the situation as it is for, maybe it's an individual situation, or maybe it's a group situation, and you are reading this situation different from other people. You're going to all want to be able to check the facts and make sure that you're looking at it from outside of your emotion, right? Step 3. Let's see. Identify your goal in solving the problem. Identify what needs to happen or change for you to feel okay. Keep it simple and choose something that can actually happen. Now we're going to take this step if your facts and are correct and the situation is the problem. Okay. Now this is kind of hard to read. It's kind of small. So that's the reason why we'll move over to step 3. So we're identifying a goal that we will have to get to the end of this situation. And you want the goal to work for yourself, obviously, and hopefully for the others in the group, right? Step 4, brainstorm lots of solutions. Think of as many solutions as you can. Ask for suggestions from people you trust, right? Do not be critical of any ideas at first. Wait for step 5 to evaluate ideas. So you're just going to get together ideas that could help this situation, end this situation, if it's something that needs to be ended, right? And you're going to put together a lot of them. You're not going to just say, okay, here's the end all be all to solve this situation. Let's think of a few things. And then we're going to evaluate those things, right? So, step 5, choose a solution that fits the goal and is likely to work. If you are unsure, choose 2 solutions that look good. Do pros and cons to compare the solutions. We haven't talked about pros and cons in our fear, but I can go through it a little bit. Let me finish this up. Choose the best to try first. So pros and cons, I mean, it may sound simple, but yet again, it's not so simple in DBT. Pros and cons sets up as a grid. So you're going to name, the situation, and you're going to have a column for pro and a column for con. But you're also going to have 2 other spaces. One is, if I do this, you're going to put the pros and cons of if you do this problem solving solution. the pros and cons of it. And then you're going to go down and go, if I don't do this solution, and you do the pros and cons of that too. Sounds a little like, kludgy, whatever. It really works because you really start to think, what are the pros if I do it? What are the cons of doing it? But the pros and cons of not doing that thing can actually be different when you really think about them. And it gives you an overall picture. And, next week, why don't I do pros and cons for a bonus episode? So stay tuned for next week. We'll do a bonus episode of pros and cons. Okay. Let's see. Put the solution into action. Act. Try out the solution. Take the first step and then the second. So we're not saying go all in and throw yourself in and it has to happen in a few minutes. It's slowly taking the steps that you need to do to perform the solution as an action. Okay. And then finally, evaluate the results of using the solution. It worked? Yay. It didn't work? Go back to step 5 and choose a new solution to try. Okay. So let's see. I also pulled out the events for fear and the you can either act on an emotion urge, which we talked about before. We can problem solve it or avoid it altogether. So for fear, the event would be your life is in danger, your health is in danger, your well-being is in danger. And fear can also be for others as well. So you fear a loved one's life is in danger, or a loved one's health is in danger, or your loved one's well-being is in danger. But I think they stick with just the person, the individual, you, so that it can be more clear, right? So what can we do when we get into those situations? We can freeze or run if the danger is near, which is the acting on the emotion urge. Or we can problem solve, remove the threatening event, or do what gives you a sense of control and mastery of the fearful event. And then the last one would just be to avoid the threatening event altogether. But sometimes we just can't do that, right? So we got to do something like removing the threatening event, or do something that gives you a sense of control and mastery of the fearful event, right? So let's say you got into a car accident. I know I use car accident a lot. Got into a car accident, and there were other people obviously involved in this accident because you had it with another person, and you're feeling very fearful of what just happened, right? You can, 1, run away, but that's against the law. 2, the other person is also acting on emotion and you're both kind of getting really upset because of that fear. You need to make decisions on what you do next. Do you call the police? Many people do. Do you exchange information? Many people do that too without calling the police. You could call your insurance right away while you're there if you are so fearful of something happening that you won't be able to get the information from that person, or you didn't think that you got the right information, so maybe you choose to do that and you tell the other person, why don't you call your insurance right now too? Let's figure this out right now. So everything is clear. Our insurance has everything that they need from the other person to go through this, right? So, there are a couple of situations that you can use to solve the problem of that fear that you're having, is to get the information right away. Get the information right away to your insurance. Call the police. Have the police come down and take care of this. In my state, the police are called and they take care of all the insurance information. I think it's actually in a system where they can just pull up our information, and that automatically happens, especially for people who may have a problem communicating together. The police are there to help you communicate with the other person, get the information you need, and move on. So there are the three different choices that you can make for that. And there are many others. You just need to choose which one's best for you, which one's best for the overall situation, and try it out. And if it doesn't work, maybe the other person is, pushing back and saying, no, I don't want to give you my information. What's the next step? Call the police. Say, well, I don't feel comfortable with that. So we're going to do another solution here, and we're going to call the police because you're not helping, right? So that's just an example of problem solving, especially with fear. And I hope that, this helps to have a sense of, walking through steps, and also that you don't have to choose one solution. You can create several solutions and figure out which one is best before making a decision that could be difficult, that may not work. And you can try that initial one, and if it doesn't work, you can move on to another one that you already have in mind. Like I said, person doesn't want to give you the insurance information. Fine, we'll call the police. And you had to escalate it, and that is a choice you needed to make. So I hope this helped. This is our fourth Moody Talk, but I think we actually have another week of October. So I will do a bonus. And as I said, I am going to do pros and cons. So I think that'll be really helpful. And we can say goodbye to this little one right here, Raven. So have a good rest of your day. Bye.